I want to talk about this other story. We're going to get serious here. We got this from Timcast.com. Twitter suspends account that simply provided Ghislaine Maxwell trial updates. The account, Maxwell Trial Tracker, had only been active for 2 weeks, but had over 525,000 followers. The big tech giant claimed the court updates violated their policy against platform manipulation and spam. The owner of the account, the Free Press Report, wrote on their Substack page that all other accounts they have made in the past were also suspended. My understanding here is that they were doing a bunch of tracking of a bunch of different issues politically, and Twitter nuked the account, took them all down. Now, a lot of people are saying this is Twitter trying to make sure people can't figure out what's going on with the Maxwell trial. But some people have also said the trial is basically a cover-up anyway. Well, how many witnesses did they call? Only a handful? Nothing, like no major players, and they're already winding it down? Is that what's going on?
Essentially, pretty much, yeah. I mean,
Prince
Andrew should have been there. Trump should have been there. Bill Clinton should have been there. They should have been testifying what they saw, what was going on. They should have been held under oath. And again, to me, this is a larger cover-up operation from the beginning. And I think the media coverage reflects on it because we found out, little tidbits there about how many times Jeffrey Epstein visited the Bill Clinton White House. We found out other people who flew on the Lolita Express. We found out a lot of the really illicit things that happened on that airplane that we can't even mention on this broadcast. So there's little tidbits of information that we got. But the main way people were finding out that information was through this Twitter account that has amassed close to 500,000 users who were following it, who were paying close attention to it, and were doing the job that the corporate media should have been doing.
I'm going to ask a question I know the answer to, but I'm going to play dumb anyway. Who's the prosecutor on this?
The lead prosecutor is a rookie prosecutor. The prosecuting team also has James Comey's daughter, the person who accidentally deleted the Jeffrey Epstein footage when he was in the jail originally from his alleged first suicide attempt. So she's a part of the prosecution.
This is such a brazen and open operation. Do you think that they just decided to be like, hey, you know what? We're just going to do this. We know everybody's going to criticize us for doing this, but it's better than what would happen if we didn't.
Let me know what you guys watching think right now. I think everyone's going to say yes, but did they take down this Twitter account because it was providing information on the Maxwell trial? Was this a deliberate attempt to stop the information from getting out?
Well, this was one of the few ways that the information was getting out. It was getting out there to a lot of people. So just on that basic merit, there is reason to believe that. And a lot of people are asking, why did this happen? Give us a reasonable excuse. Tell us what generic, vague, made-up Twitter rule that they violated. Right. And Twitter hasn't been that responsive. Twitter hasn't come forward with any evidence, with any explanation here that I've seen that justifies this larger takedown of something that is of such public interest.
Right. With that kind of scale, they should give a public declaration as to why they did it. Is there not a intrepid, up-and-coming local journalist wherever this trial is being held who's sitting in there live tweeting everything and trying to get
You can't live tweet.
Fine. Walking out into the hallway and then tweeting everything. You
gotta leave the building.
Yeah. God, you guys killing me. Is there not somebody like that, some 23-year-old reporter who's got 3,000 followers?
Technically there isn't, because when you go into these buildings in the federal courts, they take your phone from you. You then have to go to the courtroom and sit down. Then you have to leave, check, take your tag and get your phone back, go outside, tweet, then walk back, hand the phone back in, and you're missing parts of the trial.
Sure.
So there are people, I think Daily Wire's got somebody who's been giving some insights, but it's very difficult. The best thing people can do is sit there with a notebook, taking notes, if they even allow that, to be completely honest, and then leave and then start tweeting one by one what's going on, but that's at the end of the day. So this account that's giving as much detail as possible, probably because a bunch of other people, look, if you've got 10 people, and they're coming out at different periods and tweeting things, you've got one centralized account that's sharing this information, making it easy for people to digest. Twitter nukes that account, and now who do we follow? You might follow one guy who's covering it, but he's only giving you 1/10 of the information. Exactly. So to me, it's just sometimes it's too obvious, and I'm sick and tired, because you'll hear this in the media. They'll say, oh, they're conspiracy theorists for thinking that, the major account consolidating all this information gets suspended for spam and manipulation. No, I'm sorry, I don't buy it.
Show us evidence. We need proof. This is in invested public interest. The people demand to know.
They accused Veritas of this, didn't they? They claimed that James O'Keefe was like using like manipulating accounts and having like bots or something.
Yeah.
Or running multiple accounts.
That was their
And
excuse.
I think that's why James sued. He's like, I've never run multiple accounts. What are you talking about? That's what they took him down for. It's a trick. It's what they did. I think they did the same thing with Milo Yiannopoulos. Now, I don't know how much I trust Milo when he says he didn't do this, but Twitter was like, running multiple accounts or something. I believe that's what happened. I could be wrong. And then I'm like, you got to prove that.
You can. Yeah, I've looked into this. You can run multiple accounts. You can't run multiple accounts for the sake of avoiding a ban. Is what the rule is. Last I looked into it, but I'm just sort of appalled at like this idea that the regime basically. I think I saw Cernovich talking about this. That the regime is basically deciding to take a credibility hit instead of letting the facts come out. Like, yeah, it's clear that we're covering things up. Haha, we're definitely covering things up. Our corruption, the extent to which we're willing to go to hide this stuff, is an acceptable thing to expose, whereas not the content is acceptable to expose.
This kind of makes me feel optimistic. I mean, these are desperate acts by desperate people. What they did to Veritas with the FBI raids against James.
Has that not been remedied in some way?
Somewhat. They just won a special master, I think it's called, at the FBI, who's going to oversee the documents they seized, or like an external third party is going to do that or something. So that's a victory for Veritas. But the fact that they raid Veritas, I think the courts ruled they can't release certain documents, citing the privacy of Ashley Biden or whatever. Desperation. They're scared. Taking down this account is overt.
I think it's reasonable for us to assume that the trends that are in place are going to worsen and not improve. So the corruption that's on display, the chaos that's out there, the disorder that's coming, the brazen cop chopper, brazen, just cover up and illegitimacy of all this is only going to get worse. Can you even consider one alternative universe or some factor at all that would like act as a damper on these trends worsening? So we should expect to see more of this in these death rattles. And I think the story that we're going to get to a little bit later is part of all this.
I would say that they're more
about the Axios poll and about the hate.
Definitely. We'll jump to that.
But I would say that they're definitely more brazen than desperate. I mean, for over 30 years, they were able to run an international child extortion trafficking operation with the help and assistance from almost everyone in law enforcement, in politics, in big tech, in the corporate media, all playing along, all hanging out. McCain's wife even said, we all knew what he was doing, but we just couldn't do anything because he was connected. Who was he connected to? To, of course, the intelligence agencies. And one of the last tweets that this Twitter account that was taken down was them tweeting about the FBI information that was seized, the hard drives, the CDs, and they talked about how a lot of the evidence was correspondent with FBI tags that looked like they were previously on them before they were even, tagged and categorized by the FBI. So again, the FBI was involved here. The intelligence agencies were involved here for over 30 plus years, doing unspeakable things, horrible things for children, knowingly, for political power, for extortion, for whatever was going on here, because we still only know very little about exactly what was happening here. But the little we know is absolutely sickening. It's terrifying, and it should make everyone feel absolutely horrid about government.
Did you see the story about the CIA analysts?
Yeah, of course. That doesn't surprise me.
Looking at disgusting, trying to solicit, we'll keep it family friendly.
Oh, right.
The worst.
A child. And they were like, yeah, but if we prosecute this guy, state secrets could get out. So, how often has that been going on?
Who knows?
It's really funny because it's like, how right is Alex Jones? Because I'm telling you, at this point, when he's talking about interdimensional beings and like human cow hybrids and cell towers, I'm starting to get scared. I'm like, this thing's true. This thing. I think Joe was saying, he's like, pull that meme up. And it's like he's right about this, and now like human chimp hybrids, and he's like, I don't know, I'm just saying.
Right, it's like a list. You are here.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where I'm kind of like, you know what? I'm ready to believe. Like we've seen all of these things that everyone said was crazy, conspiracy nonsense about elitist, government affiliated, abusers. And now it's like more and more information is coming out. On top of the CIA thing, it's what Luke was just mentioning, that it appears the FBI had this evidence and had tagged it before and did nothing.
Yep.
For how long? Was it 20 years?
Well, the whole operation went on for at least 30 years from what we know, because there was victims coming to the FBI in 1996. 1996, the FBI sat down, interviewed, and investigated, allegedly, Epstein. There was a lot of victims coming forward. There's a lot of police officers that tried to do something. They were stopped. State prosecutors were stopped. Politicians were stopped. Judges were stopped. And they were told, you can't touch this guy. But if you do, we're going to give him special treatment. And I think if we really understood the horrors that the government is capable of, we can't even fathom what they are capable of, because what little we know is still, we can't mention it. We can't talk about it here on the show. We should be able to. We can't.
Well, family friendly.
Of course.
There's no one telling us we can't talk about exactly what Epstein did, other than we don't want to scare your children and freak people out. So let's just say atrocities against minors and children
that were tax funded with your money.
World leaders
paying
involved,
for it.
Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, even Donald Trump flying on these planes.
When did Clinton get involved?
Well, Clinton was involved with Epstein as far as the early 90s. So you see in the White House logs, even Jeffrey Epstein being an official guest inside of the White House. So did they know each other beforehand? Some people are saying most likely yes. A lot of people are also saying that he knew Donald Trump and Bill Gates a lot longer than previously known. And again, a lot of the secrets went away with him from his alleged suicide, which one of the prosecutors in the Ghislaine Maxwell case just magically deleted and got rid of.
The footage.
Yeah, the footage. And she, again,
is that's like a widely accepted fact?
Yes, she released a press release explaining why footage mysteriously was disappeared and no longer existed of the first suicide attempt.
Man.
That was her.
They just don't care. They just don't care.
No,
They just don't care what people think.
Yeah.
Right? It's just it's an open operation.
I disagree. I think they're freaking out. I think this is sheer panic.
No. I hear what you're saying, but they just don't care about like these acts that they're taking to cover up these things that they're panicking
It's like
about.
keep your head down and keep moving.
I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I think they do care. I think they're just sweating bullets going, what do we do? And they're like, we have to
Keep walking.
delete the footage. And it's like,
Don't make eye contact.
people are going to know we did it. It's like, we have no choice, man.
Yeah, no, it's probably
Go and do it.
that's exactly
And
right.
they have,
And they're shaking, man.
and they
They're
have
freaking
thousands of photos, thousands of videos. We're not talking about just a few politicians, the politicians we mentioned here. Thousands of pieces of evidence that is in their hands that has extreme political power, because they could come to whatever politician, whatever celebrity, whatever corporate media representative, whatever big tech personality, whatever guy that worked at Microsoft, they could come to him and be like, hey, look at these nice photos and videos we have here. We need you to promote fake meat. We need you to release GMO mosquitoes. We need you to release contraception that's going to be controlled by us. They could do that, metaphorically speaking, hypothetically speaking.
The CCP
Wait, can I give that to my daughter and I can control that? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, I want to talk about what's going on with these documents and the evidence they've had and they've been sitting on. And I want to say this. I've seen the memes on the Trump forums where they say, I don't care who's implicated. I want the evidence out. And I've seen the same thing from people on the left. Everyone in the populist kind of, regular working class American types are basically saying, release all the evidence. We want it.
Yep.
How do we get a major grassroots movement between left and right to be like, hey, everybody, we're going to stop arguing with each other just for 1 minute, because we know they have evidence on Epstein and these global elites and what they were doing, and we all want to know who it is.
But that trove has so much power to the FBI. The FBI is becoming more political by the day. Even through their founding with J. Edgar Hoover, they were exploiting secrets, spying on individuals, and using that for political power. So for them to have this weapon, this power, I do not see them giving that up. I see them holding it indefinitely for themselves because it works too much in their favor, and it works in too much of what they always, it's their routine business. It's what they always did. So there should be a bipartisan push. I'm all for it. I don't know how we do this, but I think starting the conversation is very important.
Why hasn't Maxwell come out and just thrown everyone under the bus?
There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that we do not know. There could be some promises. There could be some deals being like, look, we'll give you like a 10-year prison sentence, but you'll do 5 and then you'll just come out of it. She could have threatened them by doing that, and then they could have doubled down on her. She's also being tortured, allegedly, according to her defense, in the very corrupt prison system that she's in. She's in one of the worst prison systems that exists in all of the United States, places where the toilets are literally overflowing with crap.
I don't buy it. I'm
I
not gonna,
do listening from similar stories coming out of that specific jail. That jail is absolutely corrupted, and
I'm
it's
just saying, how do
known
you
for
know-
abusing prisoners.
I don't believe anything pertaining to any of this stuff. All right. I would be more inclined to believe that she's sitting in an underground luxury bunker and they're like, we're so sorry about this, Miss Maxwell.
Right.
Don't worry. Once this is all over, we'll let everyone think you're in prison and you'll be on a private island minding your own business.
I agree. That's also a possibility here. That's also one of the things with how brazen they are, with how crazy they are, that they could probably pull this off as well to make this a part of their cover-up operation. I think both are possible, but we need more evidence. We need more transparency. We need more oversight. And we need this huge injustice that happened to thousands of children to be rectified, and it's not. We need that evidence. We need that extortion power taken away from the state immediately.
Let's do this. We have this story from CNN. Democrats officially have a retirement problem. So there's a lot of people saying that there's going to be a red wave because of because historically there should be, just because we got a Democrat in presidential office, so people are going to vote Republican. How about this becomes one of the most important issues for every constituent in the country, or at the very least, those that are watching, tell your friends about it. 'Cause I'll tell you this, come Christmas time, when you're having those political arguments, here's what you should do. You should be like, you got that annoying aunt, Sally or whatever, and she's like, Joe Biden, blah, blah, blah. And you just go, you know what? I might disagree with you on that, but you think Epstein was bad, right? How about we demand of all politicians, this is the issue? Because can that unite us, perhaps? Right? Democrats are bailing out crazy, right?
You would think that would unite us, but then, actually, that one teacher who came out with the minor attracted persons thing, didn't she have to quit? Right?
Yeah, I
Wasn't there
think
like
so.
a professor who came out, made some presentations? So there's not so this was a question, and I'm sorry, we can get back to what you just said, but this was something I want to think about earlier. There's not a coordinated effort to normalize these things that Epstein and Maxwell did, and the universities and all these things.
No, listen.
Great reset.
When you're talking to the average person, they know nothing about what you just said.
Yeah.
That's in the weeds, inside baseball. But they have heard of Epstein, or at the very least, a little bit like, oh yeah, that trial that's going on, being like, hey, how about we get this information? Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.